Well, hey everybody, it's Romania Black, and we're starting a new anime today, and I'm pretty excited about it. If you are new to my channel, my name is Romania Black. I am an English teacher, I coach a speech team, and I have been a fan of anime and manga since I was a kid, and now I spend my spare time looking at anime, watching them, and reacting, and not only doing that, but discussing them as well. So hopefully you enjoy my rambles as we dive into a new series today, and I just finished Witch Hat Atelier on my channel, and now we're starting another series with witch in the title, so just carrying on the magic, I guess. But yeah, so I did a poll over on my Patreon. You can go check out my Patreon. There's a link to it on my homepage, and usually people vote for the series that I am going to watch, and it was very, very, very close. I will show you the results up here. There were several hundreds votes cast, and by like five votes, Journal with Witch beat out Go For It Nakamura, which I do eventually want to see Go For It Nakamura. I want to see that series eventually, so it will probably stay on the polls for the future. But yes, I was really excited that Journal with Witch won because it has been recommended for several months now, and people have been like, you need to watch it. And so I'm excited to finally get around to it. So for the next 13 weeks, we're going to be looking at episode by episode each episode of this series. There will be a link down below where you can actually watch the reaction, and then because of copyright and things like that, we're going to come up and discuss it afterwards. But yes, I am so excited. If you've followed my channel in any sense for any amount of time, you will know that I go into these series completely blind, and to be honest, I am completely blind with this series. I have no clue what to expect. I just know there's witch in the title, so there's maybe witches, but I don't know. There's a journal involved, so there's some kind of diary. Is this going to be like Witch Hat Atelier? Is it going to be something totally different? I don't know. We're going to be watching it. The other thing is that we are watching the Japanese subs with the subtitles included. Again, link down below in the description. So thank you for joining me as we dive into this series. I'm really excited. I honestly, as soon as it won the poll, I've been itching to sit down and watch it, so we're not going to waste any more time. Let's just go ahead and start. Thank you so much for your support and your kindness. Feel free to comment down below. I love to read comments. Just please note if you spoil, because I read those comments and I'm going in blind, if you're going to spoil to anything that happens in the future, make sure to leave a big space and be like, Romania, don't read, and then, or say spoilers, and then include your dialogue, so that way you'll know. I will have a moderator that will be checking this channel, so if you try to spoil me, it's not going to work, because my mods are going to make sure I see it, and I will just heart your comment and move on without replying. If I just heart your comment and I don't reply, that means I didn't read it. I'm just getting it out of my inbox. But I appreciate the support. If you want to comment and the comment's not for me and just for the comment section, respect. So let's not waste any more time. We're going to start Journal with Witch episode 1, and we're going to see what goes down, and we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's get into this. Okay, wow, this is probably one of the most like somber and sober pilots for a show that I've ever watched, but for it being about grief and loss. You know what this show reminds me of, like right off the bat, and it's not going to seem like that when I say the title of this series, but it might make sense in a minute, but it's giving me the vibes of Given. It's giving me Given vibes, and there's a reason for that, and I don't want to spoil Given, but the protagonist of Given and Asa, they both have this, from episode 1, this kind of like lost loneliness, and they don't exactly know what to do with their feelings in the process of grieving. And so they just kind of feel like they're stuck out in this desert, and they don't have a voice because their mouth is so dry, and they're trying to find a way to get water as I take a sip of tea, so that they can like find a way to project their emotions and how they're feeling. And in Given, there is a tie to music with that series, and there's a tie to music here, as Asa likes to sing, but she can't really find... She sings very well, and she sings, but it's kind of like just singing a song randomly. I'm going to be very curious, whereas in Given, there's a focus on finding a voice and projecting in a specific way, and here it's her finding her voice and projecting. And I don't know if they're going to use, like, the journal seems to be the MacGuffin in which she's doing that, but I don't know what we do with the journal and if that allows her to find a way to speak out about her thoughts about her parents passing. It's going to be really interesting. But yeah, Asa was giving me kind of Mafia vibes from Given in this first episode, and that's not a bad thing. And then there's Makio, which she's so fascinating from the start. So I want to go ahead and start. I'm going to have some screenshots to show alongside here, and we're going to talk through the episode because I feel like going in chronological order would be the smartest thing to do. So here in 3, 2, 1, we're going to go back to the episode without sound, just looking at some screenshots and talking about her singing the song, "When I woke up from my sleep, I found myself alone standing on an open page. No matter where I look, I can't see. There's no path nor exit." Which, again, the song she's singing kind of describing her emotional state. I like that you have the image of the different seasons kind of depicted through this, like, shot with the flower, the leaves and the flowers that's dried and all of that. Works very well. A lot of mystery set up here from the start. And then that's from page 1, from the mid-credit scene. There's no path, there's no exit. So we have here, okay, she's keeping a diary on her phone, which is interesting. She's like, "The price of string beans is bonkers. I bought some from Makio-chan, but I'm about to go bean bankrupt over here." So one thing this series is doing already is it is establishing that the flow of time in it is going to go back and forth it's going to be like a tide, ebbing and flowing. It's going to be like a tide, ebbing and flowing. We're going to get to this point, and then we're going to go back to this, and we're going to go to that, because this is clearly sometime in the future from the end of episode 1, because she's keeping a diary on her phone, which is a step up from her trying to keep it in the book. And it says Wednesday, April 10th. So maybe we can get an idea of what the time frame is, because it says Wednesday, April 10th, 2019, maybe? There's a 1 there. 2019, maybe? Wednesday, April 10th. We're going to keep that in mind. And she saves the diary. Wednesday, April 10th. Keep that in mind as we go through this. And so, yeah, it shows her, like, getting everything set up. She's cleaned up the house a little bit. It's a little bit neater. There's a few more plants, not just the cactus, but, like, I like Makio having, like, the little indoor plants, and that's kind of like a theme with her character. I am guessing she is a novelist or a journalist. I'm guessing that she's one, which would be funny if it was Journal with Witch and she was a journalist. She's one of the two. I just said novelist because it seems like she's just kind of doing things at her own pace. And another series that I've checked out, Cherry Magic on my channel, one of those characters is a novelist, and they kind of give off the same vibes. So I'm just assuming that the aunt or relative is a novelist, but we don't know for sure. And then when she's like, sing some Justin Bieber, that was really funny. I love the idea. She's like, sing it. And Asa, yeah. She's like, "Can you do Justin Bieber?" Like, almost teasing her, which is really funny. And then I love that she goes, "Bae!" Like, before we can get to baby, and it gets cut off, we just get that. That's really funny. "I'm making chicken katsu and sesame." That sounds amazing. Yep, sounds good. The ding went off. I love that the ding went off, and the ding being the microwave is kind of like Makio establishing the way that she thinks and how she, like, interprets the world. Very, very authorial, you know, showing off that authorship. Mm-hmm. And then her phone going off too, which we don't get to see who the call is from. Answering like a real adult, Kodai speaking. Thank you for the other day. Yep. And so she says, "I've been healthier ever since you came." Which, yeah, okay, so she's like, "And then hire me." That was really funny. I love the dynamic between the two of them right off the bat, that they have this kind of like dry sense of humor with amongst each other, and they're kind of like cohabitating while at the same time Asa's like doing a lot of the cooking and cleaning and getting things in order for her aunt to kind of like get back on her feet. And we have so much to talk about with their characters, but I think that this opening does such a good job of portraying their kind of dynamic and relationship that has developed between the two of them. She's like, "This is enough. You don't have to get paid. It's enough for it." And you can see that difference where the dishes are done, the dishes are put away, versus when she first moved in, the dishes were a mess and nothing was clean. And then apparently there is a bedroom, because she says, "Take the bed." She's like, "You can go take the bedroom in the bedroom if you want." But knowing what we know now, I don't blame Asa for sleeping next to her aunt. Like, this girl has lost her family and is by herself, so she doesn't want to go off into another room where she's lonely, because that's the whole motif of the desert. She wants that connection, and so for her and Makio to have this connection, she sleeps in the room with the little futon there. And if you notice, everything is kind of like, there's still books and stuff around, but it's much more organized. The little cactus is still there. There's a lot more organization in the moment. And I love, if I were her, I would have taken the picture of her as well. And she describes how her aunt's typing. The rustling of papers. So that looks like a manuscript. Yeah, the deep sighs. Maybe she's on a deadline. And in her little shrimp pose. Buried between the mountains of books. I love it. The animation's gorgeous. Like, it's a really unique style. I like it a lot. She's like, I am here alone, sleeping next to the throne of a queen from a strange land. Even though they are living together, and even though they're developing this relationship with one another, it is interesting to note that Asa is still considering herself alone. Like, she's co-inhabiting the space of her aunt's apartment and where she lives, but they're not, we're still early enough in their relationship where she doesn't consider herself like with her aunt. She views them as two separate beings sharing this space, but they're not, they mingle together, they cook for each other, they eat together, but the dynamic is not so much as familial as it will likely be down the road in this season. She says, these nights are my favorite. Where she kind of like, and there's something to it too, that Asa kind of already from the get-go identifies herself as sort of an outsider looking in and separate from the rest of the group. And we'll talk about why and in what ways. So for her, that kind of like, you know, being separated but around someone is kind of, she doesn't find that discomforting, which is interesting. Yeah, so Journal with Witch. The witch part is going to be interesting. Like, why does she say with witch? Because she calls the aunt a queen. So it's going to be interesting to learn, why does she say witch? Where does that part come in at? This OP is adorable. Anime food looks amazing as always. She looks great. Now Asa's 15, so she's a second year probably. A first year, second year. This part right here made me think of Given. And if you know, you know. But the idea of her like projecting her like raw emotion here and yelling, I feel like that's going to happen later on in the series. That she's going to find a moment where she can like blurt out and get that emotion out. And also the Given vibes were also due to the guitar here. Seeing the guitar, I was like, that helps cement it as well. But we'll see. We'll see. God, I do love this. What is this? I don't know what technology this is. It said 2019, I'm pretty sure. We'll see where that goes. But yeah, and the pizza, Delicioso pizza. Okay, we also see Makio in her own desert. So that's going to be interesting to see, like, when we get more with Makio's character. Her character fascinates me so much. I'm so intrigued to know more about her. And we see her relationship with her sister, her older sister there. That is so interesting. And then the bench where we saw Asa with presumably the grandmother or the relative when she comes to find her. And then I love that skirt. That skirt's so feminine and cute on Makio. Very interested in knowing where their dynamic goes. So, episode 1 is called Overflow, which is an interesting title for this episode because we talk a lot about a desert in this episode, and overflow is like the overflowing of emotions, the overflow of like the water in the desert and her need for the basin and everything, the overflow like into the journal. There's a lot that it covers. So let's get an idea maybe of the time frame. We obviously get glimpses inside Makio's apartment before Asa came there, and it's just an absolute mess. There's like takeout bags on the counter. There's books and clothes everywhere. It's a lot. Another beautiful day nationwide. Be mindful of the dry air. Okay, so they don't exactly say what the day was. Dang it, I'm hoping that we got something. So last night, an accident occurred at the Otski parking area of the Cho Expressway. It seems like it's spring, though, where a truck struck a parked passenger car. The fact that the car was parked is terrifying. That's so awful. Like, that wasn't their fault at all. They were parked. Yep. So then we have the names. when they said here, they said, according to the police, its occupants were Hajime Takumi and Minori Kodai. So Minori, there's Makio and Minori. They're the two Kodai sisters. And then Hajime is the name of Asa's father. Now, Asa's name is Asa Takumi. And Japanese marriages are interesting because in the marriage, it doesn't really matter who takes what name. It's usually the more affluent family member, I think, in some cases. Like a man can take a woman's name. But here, they are separate names. So they are not married. So I'm guessing they weren't married. Maybe they were just dating each other. And maybe Minori was dating Hajime and Asa is Hajime's daughter. But they said they were biologically related. But I'm like, there's so much rumors going on in this episode. It's like, why weren't they married? If they were, like, if she was Minori's daughter biologically, why weren't they married? Asa hasn't said anything about that. Asa doesn't really look like Minori, except maybe the hair. So curious. I'm assuming we'll get maybe to know all this down the road. Okay, it says on the phone, February 26th. Okay, so using our detective skills, the beginning of the episode was April 10th. So it's been almost 2 months at the beginning of the episode from when they first met. So what we saw at the beginning was a 2-month time period. Within the 2 months she's lived with Makio, she's gotten the phone diary, is developing in that way and working forward. Okay, cool. We've got a time frame. So her parents died on February 26th. And then they were taken to the hospital but passed away. Their daughter was not in the vehicle at the time. And then we see the sister. Don't you have anything to say? That's so creepy, like her ghost speaking up, which they have the same face shape and the same eyes. That's interesting. Don't you have anything to say? And then we see her like with her hair shorter there. Curious. I'm saying this because as your big sister, you're so hopeless. Oof. Interesting indeed. So definitely two estranged sisters. Stuff's getting in between them. We don't exactly know what got between them, but they despised each other. Or at least Makio didn't like her. Interesting. And then she gets there and like, did you confirm the bodies? And she's like, oh, I wouldn't do something so scary. That's crazy. That woman has been there. Granted, she's been there with Asa, but she left the confirming of the bodies to Makio, which is... She said they were doing an autopsy. I wonder why. We had no choice in the matter. They're making us wait in this dreary place. I am very curious about Asa because, granted, Asa eventually breaks down and she has this moment of grieving her parents because she can't find a way to, like, she's suddenly struck with all this loneliness and emotion at once during the wake that she doesn't know what to do with it. But Asa very much strikes me similarly to Makio, as both of them are kind of neurodivergent, whereas Asa maybe is a little bit socially detached, and then Makio is very much so engrossed in her work that she cannot have time. I don't think Makio is depressed, because sometimes when people get depressed, they avoid like menial tasks. They avoid doing things. They're just like kind of, but usually if a person is depressed, they don't want to do anything. Here, Makio is very absorbed in her work, but maybe she has adult ADHD and she can't focus except on the one thing, which is a very real sensation for many people. One of my really close friends has adult ADHD and she like struggles with that all the time. She gets hyper focused on one thing, but she neglects all this other stuff. And so that seems to have happened maybe with Makio. She's so hyper focused, she's lost track of everything else. Or it could be an idea of her like maintaining control in this one aspect, but because she has control in this one aspect, she loses control in other aspects. So there's lots of options. There's lots of ways you can, look at it. So it's curious. But then you have Asa, who seems like she's socially detached, but also her parents have just suddenly died. So she's probably in shock as well and now doesn't know what to do. But it's made very clear that her and Makio have not seen each other in a long time. And so that makes it seem like if Hajime and Minori, who is Makio's sister, if they were dating and weren't married, they've been dating for a very long time. Or if they have been married, Minori kept her maiden name, which feels a bit non-traditional. So again, I'm very curious to know like what the dynamics of the family are. Although, damn, I have never experienced anything like this, so I cannot speak to the experience, but in a lot of anime that I've watched, again, this series reminds me of March Comes In Like a Lion. The animation got me into it, and now I'm like, oh, there's other elements that remind me of March Comes In Like a Lion as well, just like Given. The idea of them like tossing Asa, being like, I don't know what to do with her. It just, is that normal in Japan? Is that normal in other countries? I've never had that experience of taking in a family member that didn't have someone else to watch them in the case of like a family member's death. I don't know what that is like, so I don't know. But man, they just don't want her at all. I mean, she's 15. She's not like a little 3-year-old. She's like, you know, almost grown. Like, you only got to watch her for a little while. Really? And at first, Makio, now look, the older woman gets on to Makio saying, have a heart. But to be fair to Makio, Makio did not come here realizing she was going to be taking in a child, like a young teenager, like a preteen. Or I guess she is a teenager. She's 15. She did not come with the knowledge that she was taking Asa into her house. So I like that they show Makio kind of in like, it's a fight or flight, and she immediately chooses flight. Because in her head, she's probably thinking, oh my God, my house is a wreck. Oh my God, I'm not prepared for someone else to live with me. Oh my God, I don't want this. You just sprang this on me. I would probably have a similar reaction. She's like, I don't have a futon. Is there a hotel? Like, I know it makes her seem heartless, but in all honesty, to just have that sprung on her, she's like, well, we can't leave her on her own. I'm like, you can't leave her on your own. But then she's like, I'm counting on you. Like we can't leave her on her own, but I'm not taking her in. Oh, no. There's a little hypocrisy there. So, and meanwhile, Asa's just sitting there like, hello. She's like, I'm Makio. And she's like, and she's like, I'm Asa Takumi. Right, Asa. We should get something to eat. She's like, does that sound good? And there's a part of me that wonders if this was kind of good for Asa to be with Makio, because Makio treats everything, because Makio is not, she says she's not very attached to her sister. Do I believe both these two are going to like break down in each other's arms at some point, sobbing their eyes out about her parents' death? Probably, but we'll see. We'll see where the show takes us. But I feel like it's helpful for Asa that she's with Makio, who is so estranged from her sister, because it makes it give Asa some breathing space to grieve if she wants to, and if she's still processing, to still process it. Also, I love that coat. Super cute. So she brings her the donut and this breakfast sandwich with the coffee, which all of that looks amazing, by the way. And she's like, thanks for the food. And I like that she goes to put her hair up, but she doesn't have the hair tie, so she can't do it. And she's just kind of like, I can't put my hair up. And then she just eats. She's like, well, let me know if you want more. Eat as much as you like. There is a mystery, because Asa really likes cooking. She like eats all the food. So I'm going to be curious to know more about Asa's backstory with her parents, like what growing up and living with them was like, if Makio was mentioned, like if she wasn't, why. So there's a lot of mystery being established between the family dynamics here that we don't even know anything about yet. So that's going to be interesting. But yeah, normally I think that this episode establishes that Asa is a little different than most people, because normally if you've ever like lost a loved one, well, I can't say that. If you've lost a loved one, usually one of two things does happen. You either don't eat anything at all, you're not hungry, you don't want anything, or you're just like stuffing your face. It's like when people bring, in the US, there's a custom, at least in the Midwest, there's a custom if you lose a family member, they do like a meal train. Neighbors bring food to the grieving families, and you like stock up that way. They don't have to cook anything. They can like have meals whenever they want to, and they don't have to work because they're grieving. So, maybe she's in that mode. She's just eating to kind of give herself some energy and comfort food in that moment, because they both eat everything. And she's like, you can get some sleep. We've got time before the wake. So yeah, and I love that, just like the picture of her as the just stoic queen. I love that Asa views her as a lone wolf. She has like a wolfish quality to her. I love that. So neat. She's like, do you not know how you feel? That doesn't make you weird. That's such a good, powerful line. I love that. I love that Makio, as a writer, she can kind of put some words. She can kind of like sort through emotions because she writes, and she's probably like used to having to explain emotions in words. So that's such a powerful statement. Like, if you don't know what to feel, that's okay. Like, grief takes all different forms across all different, emotional tapestries. Like, everyone feels grief in different ways. There's no timeline for grief. There's no correct way to grieve. It affects people in such different ways. And already this series is giving us two very different ways of grieving than you might normally see in media. And I love that. I love that it's expanding that and showing how these girls how these two women deal with that. She's like, if you feel sad, let it come. And then she's like, do you feel sad, Makio? And she's like, unfortunately, I don't feel sad at all. And I think that's an interesting dynamic as well. She's like, I hated my sister. I feel sorry for your sake. That's crazy. So I think that's a new dynamic too, that, she's like, I didn't like my sister, so I'm not sad, but I feel sad that you're alone. So I feel sad for you, but I don't feel sad. Interesting indeed. And Asa seems like she doesn't exactly know what to do with these feelings. And that's when she's like, it might help you to start keeping a journal about the things people say to you or the things that they don't. Or about whatever you feel or don't feel. You can keep it all in your journal, even if you never open it again. One day it'll be your guiding light. I'm curious to know what journal she kept, because it seems like it's drawn from experience. So what kind of journal did she keep, and how did it guide her? She also, I thought it was interesting, she said you could lie in the journal, because she's like, it's just yours. Nobody's ever going to know. It's not going to be published. But I always feel interesting about that. I never thought of the concept of lying in a journal, because in my mind, a journal is for you to look back on and reflect and remember things or reflect on emotions and things like that. So the idea of lying in a journal and it not being accurate is crazy, but I'm curious to know the context of when you would lie in the journal. So maybe we will develop that as we go. That'll be interesting, but so curious. So yeah, and so we find out from Asa that she kept a journal on morning glories. And she's like, well, you probably enjoy that more in later in life as an adult. And Asa's like, I don't know what to do with that. So she thinks back to her parents passing. And in that moment, that's when she feels like she's in the desert. Anytime that she is emotionally distressed or feels lonely, aka when she thinks about her parents passing, it cuts to her in the desert. Because she's all alone, it's empty. And I think the desert is an amazing metaphor for her views upon grieving. Like, with grief, she's like, I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to turn to. I don't have any sustenance. I don't have any resources. I'm just by myself. And there's no one to help me. And reflecting and presenting grief as a desert is so smart. I love that. I think that's amazing. That's such a good choice. So good. But yeah. So, Journal with Witch, page 1. I love the dried flowers as well. So then we do have a picture of Hajime. We do have a picture of him there with the glasses. And we have a picture of her. Honestly, I don't think Asa looks... We don't get a close-up picture of him. He's got dark hair and glasses. We don't get to see if his eyes are green or not, but he kind of has a more rounder face. They say she's not even Minori-chan's real daughter, right? That's so, Why is it at funerals that the rough family, the terrible family comes out of the woodwork? Why is that? Like, that statement in itself, her real daughter, as if to demean Asa's existence, to demean her grieving her parents by saying that her grief is not as valid because this woman didn't give birth to her, potentially, is sickening. Why? Why you gotta deal with these people? That's awful. Like, the fudge. Okay, I wanted to see a nice close-up of the dad. I mean, I guess I get it. If you told me she was her parents, if you told me that she was their child, I would believe it. I could see it. They're like, no, I think that they're blood relatives. She's like, about the things that people say to me, you think, Then you have these people that are, though, that's what I've heard, or what they don't say. Oof. No one from his side is even here. That's crazy. I mean, it seems like all these people are Makio's family. And so maybe, I mean, the fact of the matter is that one, maybe Hajime's family are from really far away in Japan and they couldn't come. Maybe he doesn't have any living relatives. It kind of reminds me, my mom's side of the family is really big and there's a lot of people on it. My dad's side of the family is a lot older and there aren't as many people left on my dad's side because his mother was like the youngest of like 8 or 9 kids. And so, and then my dad's dad was was an only child. So it's like, there's not a lot of family on my dad's side that are still alive. I have some cousins, some second and third cousins, but it's not like any direct family. And then, like, on my mom's side, there's a lot of people. So, and they're, like, people coming out of the woodwork. Like, people I have no clue how we're related. So, that's so fascinating. But, yeah. She's like, I understood exactly what she meant. Not a soul, no family or relatives. And he might not have any family or relatives. He might have been an only child, and his parents could have had them when they were older, and they don't exist anymore. You know? I like that Asa's like, I know what they meant, like writing down what they say and don't say. Because what they're saying is this, but what they mean is something a little bit different, right? Yep. I'm only living off my pension. You of all people can't say that, Kyoko-san. So I guess they're breaching the subject of who's going to take her. And everybody's like, oh, I couldn't afford to take her in. I can't afford to feed her. She's like, I really do feel bad. And then, yeah, you see, like, right in front of their salad, right in front of the two of them and their portraits, being like, well, I'd like to take her in, but I don't got a lot of money to spare. Like, freaking girl's parents just died. And, like, which, honestly, I feel says so much about Makio and Minori, like, the way their family is. Also, this woman that's next to the older woman, she kind of looks like Asa, so I could see the resemblance. I could see the relation. I want to know more about the dad. I wonder if we'll ever find out. And like, do you hear the dryer advisory from Houston to Tuna? Sure did. It's that oven system. She says, my special talent is I hear only gibberish and not what they're saying. She's just tuned them out. And I love that when she tunes them out, they all become these faceless figures that she just tunes them out and doesn't even listen to them anymore. She's like, I'm done. Not that anything they're saying is relevant, and it's probably good that she's tuning them out. Love that. I love the way that it's animated. And then, meanwhile, we have the first night staying at Makio's, and there's like dust and lint and everything, which honestly, I need to dust in here really bad. I kind of relate to Makio a little bit because I get really absorbed in like going to work, working when I come home, I eat dinner, and I get on here and record and watch an episode and record. And then I edit it. And then I go to bed. And then I start the next day and do the whole thing over again. So in the one sense, I'm like, I get it. I get where she's coming from. And I get that you can easily let things go to the wayside if you're doing all the things. You can't keep up. But this is excessive for me. Like at some point I'm like, okay, the mess would have to stop and I'd have to clean up because it would not get to this point. I'd be like, oh, there's too much mess. No. But the dusting and the vacuuming and stuff, it can get like that. When she rubs the hand across the book, I'm like, don't rub your hand on that shelf back there. It would do the same thing. I'm like, oh, this is going to make me want to clean. This is going to make me do a full clean of the house. Let me tell you. But yeah, and then we have like the Delizioso pizza and like the sushi menus and all that. And there's like bills and everything. Also, the bills just lying around. It says note selection, like the little life journal. Yeah, and like bills and stuff. No, I'd have to clean that up. I do appreciate the minimalism of her house though. And she's like, okay, we should eat. So Asa in this moment realizes exactly the type of house that she's agreed to stay at, because we're going to flash forward in a second to the day prior when Makio stood up to the nasty family and was like, I'll take her in. And now we're the day later where she's like, hey, so remember when I said I'd take you in? She's like, I am still going to hold to that, but I was talking a big old game. I was bluffing really hard last night. And she's like, I'm actually really shy and awkward. Which, honestly, the sauerkraut and the sausage, the cabbage and the sausage, heck yes. Get us some kraut and sausage. I would be all about that. That sounds like an amazing breakfast. And the toast. Now that coffee, I'm going to be honest, that coffee looks weak. Unless it's tea. It looks like the same, it looks like the consistency of tea. I'd be about that. Maybe it is tea. Maybe it's not coffee. I find that hard to believe though. She seems like a coffee drinker. But yeah. And then putting the the sausage and ketchup on the bread with the sausage and the cabbage. I don't know. Cabbage sandwiches. I'd probably want to just have the toast. I probably want to have butter on the toast and have the cabbage and sausage separate. I do like the idea of the dried flowers and everything. You can see that even though Makio, like, there's so much to this show already that is show don't tell, but it's also keeping like the mystery close to the chest. Like where she has the flower and everything, it's this situation of she clearly likes preserving beauty, but maybe isn't good at cultivating it. So what I mean is, like, she has all these images of dried flowers, and the plants that she has are like succulents or cacti that don't need a lot of maintenance. So girl speaking out of my own heart. I love dried flowers and I can't keep a plant alive. I'm doing good to keep the plants alive. I do have alive, knock on wood, but they don't need a lot of maintenance. So she likes the beauty of the world, but she herself doesn't believe she can maintain it. So she has things that don't require a lot of maintenance because, again, things get out of her control. She's like, are you actually super shy? And she's like, no, actually, yes. And Asa's like, oh, she's like, everything I said yesterday was complete caprice. She's like, I was put on a big old game, but I'm actually not like that in real life. It came out wrong. And Asa's like, it's true I couldn't let things stand, but I was overlooking the fact that I'm not the kind of person who can share their space with another human being. This is on me. But could you not go what like that? It's hurtful. She's like, I'm surprised that adults get hurt feelings too. Oh, I'm looking forward to seeing what these two learn from each other, because I feel as though Minori presented herself, just from what we know from Makio's vision of her in the past, that Minori presented herself as prim and proper and like everything is perfectly fine all the time. And Makio is the complete opposite of that, where she's kind of a hot mess. And I feel like Asa maybe got the idea of, oh, adults don't have those types of feelings because my mom never distributed those types of feelings. Whereas she's learning that no, adults are hot messes. As a kid, I was like, man, oh, you adults have it all together. And now that I'm an adult, I'm like, oh no. We're very good at bluffing that we have it together, but we do not have it together, hardly at all. And that's when Makio says, I doubt my sister ever showed flaws like that. And that's when Asa's like, why did you hate her? I love this like ghost of Minori is hovering over Makio, like, you gonna talk bad about me? You gonna talk shit about me in front of my daughter? And I like that Makio's like, well, it's best that we don't speak ill of the dead. I like that she said, I don't want to speak ill of my sister. I just wanted you to know up front how I felt about her so that it was a done deal, so that you already knew and I didn't have to explain it. She's like, I told you because it didn't seem fair otherwise. And Asa's like, what a weird person. So then she's like, well, I guess you could keep the journal pages. I want to know what was written on the journal before she ripped out the pages. I started living with someone weird today, and that's because. And then we see she can't bring herself to write anything because she's like, that opening moment, there was so much power in this scene because, it's her, once you write it out, my parents have died. It's like, saying it out loud. You've willed it into, this is it. And so she can't find herself being able to will it into existence. She can't say it. She can't speak it. So that's gonna be the struggle this season, is like, how do you grieve? What do you do with this? And I like that the lines on the page is turning into the lines of the desert. Oh my God, it's so good. It's so good. And that's when she's like, look, when you keep a journal, you don't have to write anything you don't want to. I like that Makio says, this is for you. These are your thoughts. You can write lies. You can draw. You can do whatever you want. You can say whatever you want in this journal. It's for you. And it's for you to work through things. You don't have to You can say whatever you want, or you don't have to say anything at all. You're not forced to write down anything you don't want to. No one can scold you for it. She's like, my parents are both gone. I love that she talks about being hurled into the desert alone, and she just wanted water. Also, it felt like that when she's walking through the desert, she's like in pajamas. So I'm curious, like, I want a basin full of water. It's like, Asa, why is she yelling like that? And I like that, Makio could sense that things were getting away from her. And she's like, hey. And that's when she starts crying. She's like, oh, you must be sad. Poor thing. She's like, do you know the kanji for basin? Like in that moment, Makio could sense that something was wrong with Asa. And she's like, hey, you okay? And then she's just like, lets it all out in that moment. And I love that Makio doesn't think she's ridiculous for asking about it. She doesn't think she's weird. She just kind of becomes like, you can tell she kind of becomes empowered in that moment to feel for her. And she's like, I deeply despised your mother. I'm sick to find that my hatred for her still persists after her passing. That's crazy. My mom and my aunt don't like each other. They've had like a grudge for the last several years, and it's really like thrown a wrench into part of my family. And I respect my mom's decision, but it's hard. And so that feeling, like that makes me emotional. That feeling that her hatred could persist after her passing is crazy. Because my other aunt has passed. My mom lost a sister years ago. But I feel like after losing that sister, my mom kind of like her, they didn't get along either. None of the sisters got along. And I feel as if when my one aunt passed, my mom had like a kind of different feeling about her. And I think she kind of regrets like not getting closer to her at the end. And so it's interesting to see that. And I'm going to not get emotional. So we're going to move past that. But yeah, but the moment she's like, I feel nothing more for you than I would any child on the street. So she's like, regardless, she's like, I'm not going to give you any favoritism because you're my sister's daughter. But she's like, you should not be passed around like a sack of potatoes. You deserve better. And I like that she's like, look, my place is never clean. I'm in a bad mood all the time. And it's not going to be, but she's like, no matter what happens, I'm not going to trample on your feelings. I'm going to treat you like a respectable person. And she's like, on that day, this woman, she's like, if you can accept that, you can stay with me as long as you need to. I'm not going to let these people pass you around. With the eyes like a wolf astray from its pack. So I feel like that in itself symbolizes how similar Asa and Makio are. They both feel like estranged from the rest of their families. And Makio, who has gone rogue to live on her own and do her own thing, finding this connection with her niece that, because they both seem very similar, she saved me from a life of loneliness. And she's like, and to answer your question, I love that. I love that got Asa in the moment that someone saw her and connected with her and was like, I'm going to treat you like the person that you need to be treated. And I love that Makio's like, let's get out of this freaking funeral home where she's like, this dried up sushi isn't worth eating. Love her already. I love Makio. She's like, let's get some real sushi. Nice. I love that. And then she like leaves and follows. There's nothing to be found. It's like being in the desert within this vast desert I'm in. And she asks if adults find themselves there too. I feel like Makio is in a similar desert. I feel like by the end of the season, they're going to maybe find each other at the right oases next to each other. They can find that oases together where they connect. Because right now they're not quite connected yet. Am I going to be able to find my way out? It seems never ending, but then she sees Makio. And Makio like is looking the same direction as her. I feel like she maybe senses in that moment that Makio might be more similar to her than she imagines, but we're going to see in this series. I found myself in an unfamiliar desert, and I witnessed the queen of a strange land sitting upon her throne in complete solitude. What's so interesting about that is that she Asa kind of idolizes Makio in a little way here because she describes her as this queen on a throne. But when you listen to what she says, she's like, on a throne of solitude. Like, Makio's in the same position you are. You're both lonely and you're both kind of isolated. But Asa doesn't realize that Makio has similar feelings that she does because she doesn't think adults can have those feelings. So, it's so good. I am so entranced already. I'm so excited. There were some like different characters in the ED. I can't wait to meet them. I'm so excited to see what this series brings us with Makio and Asa and them growing closer. That's going to be so interesting. How they both cope with grief, what we learn about her family, about Hajime and Minori. I am so intrigued. And just the way this series handles that isolation after grief and after loss, and the way that it shows connection amongst it's so good so far. What a somber episode, but I'm so fascinated. So yes, oh my gosh, y'all, as if you couldn't tell, I'm really excited to see what we get with these next episodes. So please let me know if you enjoyed this reaction discussion. Please like the video. Please comment down below your thoughts. Please subscribe to the channel if you can to show support, and follow me with Journal with Witch every Thursday for the next couple months. So every Thursday we're going to have a new episode, new discussion, and see what the show gives us. So I'm Romania Black. Thank you all for joining me. I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe. Take care out there. And I'll be back very soon with more of Journal with Witch. And I'll see you then. Bye.